So lads, Sophie Cunningham, obviously a player for the Indiana Fever, who got into a little bit of trouble last night. And by trouble,
Sophie Cunningham stood on the edge of professional ruin after stepping in to protect her teammate, Caitlin Clark, from yet another reckless foul. The backlash wasn't just loud, it was ruthless. An online mob escalated the outrage into a full-blown campaign, circulating a petition demanding she be permanently removed from the WNBA. Most athletes would have retreated, issued apologies, gone silent. Cunningham did the opposite. Instead of folding under pressure, she fired back with a response so precise, so fearless, it flipped the narrative overnight. What began as attempted cancellation turned into a masterclass in public defiance, and her critics never recovered. This is the story of how a single tweet became a flawless takedown.
There's been a lot of posts about Sophie Cunningham jerseys completely selling out. There's been a lot of posts. This is the only one. This is genuinely the only one that is quote tweeting. WNBA fans have now made a petition to have Sophie Cunningham removed from the league. You can't make this up. I love how what's the petition on right now?
The game had turned into a pressure cooker, no different from most Indiana Fever matchups this season. Caitlin Clark was being hounded nonstop. Bumps, holds, off-ball shoves that never seemed to end. With every possession, the tension thickened, that unmistakable feeling that the night was headed toward a breaking point. The officials hesitated, letting the physical play spiral unchecked. And that hesitation mattered. Then Sophie Cunningham made her decision. She watched Clark get targeted yet again and realized enough was enough. In that moment, she stopped waiting for protection to come from the whistle and chose to take matters into her own hands.
Well, they're going coast to coast. And here we got another breakers here as J.C. Sheldon.
In a moment that doubled as both a foul and a declaration, Cunningham delivered a forceful shove that stopped everything. It wasn't impulsive. It was intentional, a warning broadcast to the entire league. Touch our star, and there will be consequences. The officials didn't hesitate. A flagrant foul. Immediate ejection. For most players, that's where the story ends. For Cunningham, it was only the opening chapter. Because the real fight wasn't coming on the hardwood, it was waiting off the court, in a far more unforgiving arena.
No, the petition only had like 100 signatures.
In the hours that followed, the internet did what it always does. It exploded. But the outrage didn't stop at hot takes or angry threads. It took a turn no one saw coming that a petition appeared on change.org, and its demand was so extreme it bordered on parody. It called for Sophie Cunningham to be permanently banned from the WNBA. Think about that for a moment. A professional athlete staring down a career-ending punishment for a physical play made in defense of a teammate, something that happens, in one form or another, across nearly every contact sport.
Sophie Cunningham showed that she is, the old Caitlin Clark enforcer. She is the Caitlin Clark enforcer. That has been shown. She is the enforcer that the Fever have needed for the last year, and she has responded.
The petition itself barely registered, scraping together only a few hundred signatures at most. It was the digital equivalent of a handful of angry people waving pitchforks in an empty street. But outrage doesn't need numbers, it needs attention. And once clicks entered the equation, the story began to travel. A distorted narrative started to form, recasting Cunningham not as a teammate drawing a line, but as a reckless villain who had to be reined in.
And I'm thinking to myself, is anybody on this team going to stand up for Caitlin Clark? J.C. Sheldon grabbing Caitlin Clark all game, clawing at her. It's like tonight was a brawl, folks. Tonight was a brawl. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, is anybody on this team going to stand up for... And Sophie Cunningham.
As the petition gained traction, Sophie Cunningham made the one move modern athletes are warned never to make. She said nothing that in today's PR-driven world, silence is almost always read as an admission of guilt. The unwritten rule is clear. Apologize quickly, issue a carefully worded statement, and try to contain the damage. Cunningham ignored the playbook entirely. Her social media went dark. No clarification, no defense, no remorse tour, and that silence only made the tension louder.
Here,
This is, of course, Sophie and Sheldon going down the floor. Sophie tries to wrap her up, and Sheldon gets to the floor, and all hell breaks loose. And Sophie said, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. We'll go.
The silence was unsettling, and it created a vacuum filled with speculation. Was the league leaning on her behind closed doors? Was the team ordering her to stay quiet? Or, worst of all for her supporters, did she actually regret what she'd done? Her critics took the quiet as weakness. They sensed blood in the water, convinced their pressure campaign was finally paying off. In their minds, Cunningham was cornered. What they didn't realize was that the silence wasn't surrender, that it was bait, and they were walking straight into the trap.
Marina Mabrey is going to get ejected because that was unwarranted. She literally came out of nowhere and chucked Caitlin Clark. There should be a flagrant one, of course, on JC Sheldon because she swiped her and hit her in the eyeball. Whether it is intentional or not, you can still have a flagrant a flagrant foul called on you, whether you are trying to intentionally hurt somebody or not. But this is what they called, you guys. This is what they called. Caitlin Clark, Marina Mabrey, Tina Charles were assessed with technical fouls on Tuesday. Caitlin, Marina, and Tina Charles. Technical fouls. That's it. Technical fouls. That's it. And JC Sheldon was assessed with a flagrant 1 foul, and no players were.
Then, after days of calculated silence, she finally spoke. Not with an apology, not with a defensive threat, but with a move so simple, so precise, it instantly became a legendary clapback. Cunningham opened Twitter, found a post promoting the petition calling for her ban, and quote tweeted it. She added just one brutal, undeniable fact. No insults, no explanations. Her jerseys were completely sold out in a single line. The outrage collapsed. The narrative shattered, and her critics were left staring at the scoreboard.
Feel good, and Sophie Cunningham put me out on a high note, folks. I didn't even say, Ben, calm down, regroup. I didn't even say that. Let's get straight to the play. Everybody, the plays everybody is talking about. First off, Marina Mabrey body checking Caitlin Clark to the ground. JC Sheldon all over her. Riding her. Pokes Caitlin Clark in the eye. Oh, man. Caitlin Clark needs to start wearing goggles, folks. Caitlin Clark's going to need to start wearing goggles. Bumps up on Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark says, "Get your hands off me." And then here comes Marina Mabrey. Boom! Exploding Caitlin Clark like a safety coming downhill in the NFL.
With that single move, she took the attention her critics had whipped up and turned it back on them. There was no need to debate her motives or dissect the play frame by frame. She didn't argue. She demonstrated one undeniable fact was enough to expose the campaign for what it really was: loud, small, and ultimately meaningless. While a few people were busy signing a petition, thousands of others were casting their vote the only way that truly counts: by opening their wallets.